Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. In this episode of Potential Sellers, I feature the Calgary Flames. In this podcast, I talk about some players who might potentially be on the move at the trade deadline for the Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames didn't have high expectations heading into this season. In fact, they were considered to be one of the biggest sellers, with many active buyers and not too many sellers around. This would mean that the Calgary Flames would benefit a lot more in the long run by trading away some of their veteran players at the deadline for picks and prospects. The Calgary Flames are actually just 7 points behind Nashville for the final playoff spot in the Western Conference, with a 29-25-5 record and having scored 185 goals for, which is 18th in the NHL, and having yielded 184 goals against, which is 12th worst in the NHL. The Flames should continue to unload their veteran players who are pending UFAs, like they did with Elias Lindholm and Chris Tanev, so look for them to be very busy up until after the deadline. The Calgary Flames started their trade deadline off with a bang by trading Elias Lindholm to the Vancouver Canucks for Andrei Kuzmenko, prospects Hunter Brzezowicz and Joni Jurmo, a first-round pick in 2024, and a conditional fourth-round pick in 2024. The fourth-round pick becomes a third-round pick if Vancouver makes it to the conference finals. If the pick remains a fourth-round pick, Calgary will receive the better of the two picks that Vancouver currently owns. Vancouver also owns the Devils' fourth-round pick. Chris Tanev was traded to the Dallas Stars for defensive prospect Artem Grushnikov and the Stars' second-round pick in 2024 and a conditional third-round pick in 2026. If the Stars do not advance to the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals, the Flames will not receive the third-round pick. New Jersey also received the Stars' fourth-round pick in 2026 for retaining 25% of Tanev's contract. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. The Calgary Flames still have several trade assets on their hands. However, not all players on this list may get moved at the deadline. The first major trade chip on their hands is Jacob Markstrom, who is 34 years old and has 6 years left on his contract until the end of 2026, until the end of the 25-26 season. While the Calgary Flames did announce that they are staying put with Jacob Markstrom until the offseason, if someone comes around and offers them a deal that's too hard to refuse, it's hard to imagine them turning it down. The next player on this list is Andrew Mangiapane, who is a winger making $5.8 million, set to be a free agent in 2025. Andrew Mangiapane is a player who may or may not be traded. Again, just like Jacob Markstrom, they are not in a rush to move him as he still has one more year left on his deal, and his cap hit isn't exactly the easiest to move to a contending team. The most likely player to get moved at the deadline is Noah Hanifin, who was a defenseman at 27 years old, making $4.95 million, set to be a free agent in 2024. Noah Hanifin has made it clear that he will not re-sign with Calgary. However, he has restricted the amount of teams he wants to be dealt to due to the fact that he reiterated that he will only re-sign with certain teams. So it kind of handcuffs Calgary's trade options. The next player on this list is Yegor Sharangovich, who is a forward who can play all three forward positions. He is making $3.1 million until the 2025 season. He is set to be a free agent in the 25 season. He makes $3.1 million and is set to be a UFA in 2025. Sharangovich has excellent trade value due to his decent cap hit and the fact that he has 1 year left on his deal. Sharangovich is a very versatile forward, capable of playing in all situations, and would be a very valuable asset on a contending team. The next player on this list is Oliver Kylington, who is 26 years old, making $2.5 million and is a free agent in 2024. If teams can't land Noah Hanifin, they may want to circle back to Oliver Kylington. Although they are not the same caliber of defenseman, Oliver Kylington would be a solid depth defenseman on a contending team, and he would cost significantly less. The last trade asset they will have on their hands is Kevin Rooney, who is making $1.3 million and is a free agent in 2024. Kevin Rooney is the pure definition of a role player. He has some playoff experience from his days with the Rangers, and contending teams would love a player like Rooney, a player with toughness, versatility, and playoff experience. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. Jacob Markstrom is going to be a very tough player to trade in the offseason, because while Jacob Markstrom is in the midst of one of his best seasons, having posted a 20-15-2 record with a 2.56 GAA and a .914 save percentage with 2 shutouts, his contract is really going to be the thing that holds back the trade, as he still has 2 more years left on his contract and has a no-move clause, meaning that he would have to approve a move to the team he gets dealt to, and he is 34 years old. So not many teams will want to trade for a goalie who is 24. So not many teams will want to trade for a 34 years old goalie who is on a terrible contract that may, in hindsight, look terrible on the contract books. Noah Hanifin is by far the Calgary Flames' most valuable trade asset. He is a free agent at the end of this season and has made it clear that he will not re-sign with Calgary, so I expect he will get moved at the trade deadline. The question is to who? So far this season, Noah Hanifin has 11 goals and 34 points in 59 games and is a plus 17, which is a really solid stat line. It's worth noting that Hanifin does have a modified no-trade clause, so he gets to submit a list of 8 teams he cannot get traded to. It is worth noting that the several teams that Hanifin is interested in re-signing with include the Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, and Boston Bruins. So those 3 teams certainly do hold an advantage in trade negotiations. Andrew Mangiapane is kind of in the same boat as Jacob Markstrom, although his contract is easier to move, as he is still in his prime, and this year he is having a solid season, having put up 33 points in 58 games, and is a plus 12. The issue is finding a team that will take on his $5.8 million cap hit, which is brutal considering Mangiapane has never put up more than 55 points in a season. The media is not talking about this player enough, but Yegor Sharangovich has quietly been one of the Calgary Flames' more productive players this year. Sharangovich has 21 goals and 39 points in 59 games this year, and could arguably be one of their more valuable trade assets, as he only has a $3.1 million cap hit with 1 more year left on his contract. For a contending team, this is very valuable, as cap is more important than anything. On top of this, Sharangovich has proven he can play in all situations and plays all 3 forward positions. Oliver Kylington is the next player who could get moved at the deadline. Kylington only has 3 points in 12 games this year due to injury, but he could be a very valuable depth piece on a contending team. The holdup on a Kylington trade is that he is getting paid $2.5 million for this season, and a contending team may not be willing to pay that much. So perhaps Calgary might need to retain a little bit of his salary. The last trade chip that Calgary has is Kevin Rooney. Although this is not a big name per se, Kevin Rooney has proven throughout his career to be a valuable role player, and I think he would fit better on a contending team than he would on Calgary. A 3-team trade is made between the Calgary Flames, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Vegas Golden Knights. Calgary Flames get Isaac Howard, Emil Martin Lilleberg, a 2nd-round pick in 2024 from Tampa Bay, a conditional 2nd-round pick in 2026 from Tampa Bay, which becomes a 1st-round pick if Tampa Bay reaches the semifinals or Hanifin resigns, Grigory Denisenko, and a 3rd-round pick in 2024 from Vegas. Tampa Bay gets Noah Hanifin, and the Vegas Golden Knights get Yegor Sharangovich. Calgary Flames trade Andrew Mangiapane and Kevin Rooney to the Florida Panthers for Steven Lorentz, a 2nd-round pick in 2025, and a conditional 4th-round pick in 2026. If Florida makes it to the conference finals, the 4th-round pick becomes a 3rd-round pick. If they don't, it stays a 4th-round pick. Oliver Kylington and the 3rd-round pick in 2026 are traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Timothy Liljegren and Noah Gregor. Jacob Markstrom stays put in Calgary at least until the offseason. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/HockeyWizTravels. This is the projected lineup for the Calgary Flames after the trade deadline. The first line is Jonathan Huberdeau, Mikael Backlund, and Blake Coleman. Second line is Connor Zary, Nazem Kadri, and Martin Pospisil. Third line is Grigory Denisenko, Noah Gregor, and Andrei Kuzmenko. Fourth line is Dryden Hunt, Steven Lorentz, and Walker Duehr. First D pair is Mackenzie Weegar and Rasmus Andersson. Second D pair is Emil Martinson Lilleberg and Timothy Liljegren. Third D pair is Dennis Gilberg and Braden Paschal. Goalies are Jacob Markstrom and Dan Vladar. The Calgary Flames will without a doubt be a rebuilding team after the trade deadline, but it will be better for their future as they gather more picks and prospects to improve the team. In my next podcast, I'll be reporting all the trades that went down during the NHL trade deadline.